Hi, it's Kirk Hallowell, author of The $1 Million Race, an insider's guide to winning your dream job. And today we're going to be talking about how to ace your interview. And specifically, we're going to dial in on how your job interview will be scored and ranked depending on the kind of organization that you're interviewing with. And I know something about this because I have designed and implemented executive selection programs for major corporations for 15 years. So here's the deal. Today we're going to learn how to determine the type of interview. And we're going to look at 4 interview formats you're likely going to face. We're going to understand how your interview will be assessed and scored. And then we're going to choose specific strategies that are going to maximize your performance and get you the highest possible rating on each of the interview types. So let's begin by considering 4 major kinds of interviews. First of all, there's the screening interview. These are typically 20-minute interviews that are done by phone in advance. And there's one objective here, and that's to determine whether you are qualified for the position. There are behavioral interviews, which are typically used by larger organizations, much more sophisticated and much more structured. There are scenario-based interviews that hit you with a particular dilemma, and they're looking for people who can think on their feet. And then there's always the ad hoc interview, or the interview question that the hiring manager or whomever simply comes up with based on their experience and their best insights on what questions to ask, and perhaps the hardest to prepare for because they're not predictable. So let's begin by considering what kind of interview format you're likely going to hit based on what I call the maturity of the organization. Now, if you think about startups and small firms, don't have a lot of budget, they don't have a lot of organization, they probably don't have a dedicated HR function, so they are typically going to focus on whatever the founder or whatever the CEO thinks is appropriate, because in those situations, the CEO is making all the decisions. In transitional organizations, there's typically a beginning HR function, and then you're going to get some of the more structured approaches to interviews. And then in mature organizations, typically Fortune 500 companies, you're going to have a very sophisticated organization with the cutting edge HR practices. And let me point out that as we go through this presentation, if you want to learn more, there is a page number in the lower left-hand corner, and that corresponds to a page in the book that describes this particular topic in detail.